Much has happened this week. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Lok Sabha on the issue of the West Asia crisis, likening the crisis to a COVID pandemic like situation. Naturally, the government is worried. The government is a bit panicky, perhaps, because of the kind of shortage expected in gas, in fuel, essential commodities. And this comes in the midst of important elections for the government, so this is going to bother the government. But that's not what I'm going to talk about in this week's top political developments. I'm going to talk about one very big political development which has large scale implications, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but for decades to come. The Women's Reservation Act. The government seems to have moved towards the rollout of women's reservation in Lok Sabha as well as in state assemblies. According to reports, the government is planning to increase the number of Lok Sabha seats in each state by 50%, so it's going to be a proportionate increase in all states, taking the total number of Lok Sabha seats from 543 to 816, so the balance 273 seats will now be reserved for women. Why do I say this has large-scale implications? I know there is going to be criticism about how women will be fielded, with a lot of nepotism. There would be somebody's wife, somebody's sister, somebody's mothers. Perhaps men would control the scenes from behind, which was also the allegation when there were reservations for women in panchayats as well as urban local bodies. But what happened there, and that's why I say this has implications for decades, is that initially, while those criticisms may have held true, there were sarpanchpatis, as it were. Some women were used as rubber stamps, but gradually women asserted themselves. Women in power asserted themselves, and over the years, over the decades, these women became strong grassroots leaders. And looking at women in power, looking at women campaign, looking at women address issues of their community, other women around them also felt empowered, felt invested in the political and electoral process, felt emboldened about the importance in politics and elections, and which is why where we are today, where women are now at par with men when it comes to voter turnout, where the gap in voter turnout has completely closed from what it was a few years ago. For decades, that gap remained in the 10 to 11 percentage point range. So that has had massive implications in grassroots emancipation, political empowerment of women. And this particular legislation, the reservation, one-third of reservation for women in parliament as well as in state assemblies, is going to have the same impact. We may not see the impact immediately. The government perhaps wants to roll it out in 2029. We will not see the impact then. We will not see the impact even a decade later. But trust me, 2 decades later, 3 decades later, we'll realize the kind of churn it has caused in Indian politics, the full-fledged empowerment, emancipation of women at all levels, and having more and more women in the top echelons of power as well as in policy making. What does that mean? That means that when it comes to policy making, when it comes to welfareism, when it comes to any sort of understanding as far as women are concerned, there is bound to be more empathy, there's bound to be a vantage point that comes from women, and it's not going to be all from the male perspective. So what this Reservation Act, this legislation does will have large scale implications over the long term. So let's not be myopic about it and criticize its immediate, perhaps, shortfalls or the difficulties or the challenges, because this is going to be a game changer.